Hey guys, it's Chrollaa. So before I start, I'd like to add a disclaimer. Don't take my opinion as the truth or as an insult to your opinion. Completely entitled to like what you like. I'm also going to be warning that this is my first time doing a structured type of commentary where I'm not just yapping, and I put out some actual research into this topic. So without further ado, let's get yapping. So recently I came across this movie called Strange Magic, and as a sucker for the magic woodland creatures that need help in the woods genre, I couldn't help myself and put it on for the night. But as I kept watching it, it felt very familiar. And obviously there's very many movies in this genre, and you're gonna have movies that look alike. But this felt too close to something, and I kind of realized this seemed like a copy of Epic from 2013. Now this movie obviously isn't copied frame by frame, but there's a lot of particular areas that make it seem intentional. So let's quit the dilly-dally and get into the contrasts and comparisons of these two films. So Epic is an animated movie that was produced in 2013 by Blue Sky Studios. It's a fantasy adventure film that follows the story of a young girl by the name of Mary Catherine, or as she's commonly referred to in the film,
I go by MK now.
Her character is magically transported into a secret world deep within the forest where she discovers a fight between the forces of good, led by the Leafman, and the forces of evil, led by the Bogans, whose main mission is to destroy the forest. MK joins forces with a bunch of colorful characters to save the forest and returns victorious after they win the battle. Now, Strange Magic is an animated musical fantasy film that was produced in 2015 by Lucasfilms. The story revolves around the adventures of a wildly vast group of magic creatures. The Bog King, who's the leader of the Dark Forest, resents the notion of love and orders destruction of all flowers that are essential to love. However, upon meeting Marianne, a fairy who is not only not like other girls, but also wears eyeliner and doesn't sing sappy songs for their happily ever after.
Didn't mean to sound so cute.
Cute actually works for you.
God, why is that an actual scene in the movie? Epic is loosely based on William Joyce's 1996 children's book, The Leafman and the Brave Good Bugs, where Strange Magic is inspired by William Shakespeare's A Midsummer's Night Dream. William Joyce's The Leafman and the Brave Good Bugs tells the story of the good bugs defending an elderly lady's garden as she falls sick and is no longer able to tend to it. As they go on their adventure to find the Leafman, they're attacked by an evil spider queen, but they come across the long-lost toy, which is the key to reviving the elderly lady. William Shakespeare's A Midsummer's Night Dream follows the romantic entanglements of four Athenian lovers who are manipulated by mischievous fairies. The King Oberon orders his servant to use a magical flower to make his queen fall in love with a donkey-headed weaver and fix the love lives of the human characters. Obviously, this all goes crazy, but despite all the mischief and confusion, love is restored and the couples are reunited. I feel like just by looking at these two descriptions, you obviously wouldn't think that there's too much similar, but let's begin with some basic comparison of the characters. Our two main characters, MK and Marianne. Other than the M names, they share little to no similarities. Let's go, eating it up, awesome. Let's move on to our side characters though. I'll start with Epic. We have Nod, who is MK's love interest, Queen Tara, the keeper of the forest, Ronan, a Leafman soldier, the Bogans, and Mub and Grub are lovable, goofy, and hilarious side characters.
You're a slug.
So? You think she'd want you? Look at yourself. Oh, that's right. You can't. Because your eyeballs are stuck all the way inside your head. What's wrong, flat face? Are you gonna cry? Do you want me to call your flat face mommy?
Moving on to Strange Magic, we have Roland, Marianne's initial love interest. We have Dawn, Marianne's exhaustingly annoying sister. The Fairy King, who is the ruler of the forest, and the Bog King. The Bogans and the Bog... Okay, you know what? No, I'm not gonna pick it apart. No, you know what? That's just one similarity. That's just one thing. That's just one. There's nothing more. There's just one thing. We have Stuff and Fang, the lovable, goofy, and hilarious side characters. Stuff and Fang? Obviously, we have a lot to cover. I'm not going to take into consideration that both main characters have a name that starts with the same letter. That's bonkers and for crazy people. However, Ronan and Roland are pretty similar names. Granted, they play different roles, but this still feels a bit suspicious. But nothing feels more suspicious than the Bog King and the Bogans, because it practically feels like the same universe. We also have our lovable, goofy sidekicks, Mub and Grub, and Stuff and Fang. Now, they inherently don't have much in common other than the fact that there are two of them and they both try to be the funny counterparts to the main driven characters. I will say the main difference between the two pairs is that Mub and Grub are more thought out and actually seem to make a difference in the movie, whereas Stuff and Thang seem more like an afterthought. Going back to the Bog King and the Bogans, this feels like an insanely large clue that Strange Magic took a lot of inspiration, if not quite literally ripped out some of the ideas from Epic. Despite the goals of both movies being pretty different, we can say that even despite the vast difference, there's still a lot going on that seems to be pretty similar. For example, even though in Strange Magic they do follow Midnight Summer's Dream, the plot point of magical flowers that can be used to create love, the generic idea of killing plants, and making an issue for the happy and green folk of the forest is still there. Now, I can't just say that just because these characters happen to be in the same forest that it's the same story, but to me it generally feels as those that took what Shakespeare had to say, ran with it, realized, oh no, we don't have any original characters! Let's just mash them together and hope it works. Now, I'm gonna give credit where it's due to both movies. Obviously, if it hasn't yet been blatantly obvious, I enjoy the Epic franchise more as I feel like there's more substance and even better morals for children and tweens alike to latch onto. But given the idea that Strange Magic is a standalone movie with no prior overlaps, then it can be an hour well spent. However, if you're still watching and you actually know me, you know that I can't stop on a good note. So let's get into why I believe that even having copied some of Epic, Strange Magic just isn't a good film. We're going to start off nicely and easy with the fact that it's a musical. Musicals aren't inherently terrible. I know personally I'm not the biggest fan of them, but I can enjoy them on occasion, when they add to the plot and story. A great and amazing example of this is El Dorado, with Elton John's carefully crafted soundtrack. However, every song chosen feels like a genuine cry for help because it doesn't seem to match the actual vibe of what's going on, as if a kindergartner was tasked with picking out the music. While they do get the job done for majority, I have to admit that some choices are entirely from left field and even have a tendency to clash against one another. Now, this is a big risk when it comes to choosing music that isn't even made for the movie.
I hope you've got a strong stomach.
Sugar pie, honey bunch. You know that I love you.
Guys, that was as painful to watch as this was to edit. As much as I love hating on Strange Magic, I think it's important to highlight why Epic's soundtrack is in simple terms better. Danny Elfman's noteworthy for his music in movies like The Nightmare Before Christmas, Corpse Bride, and Meet the Robinsons, composed the entire track, which was then played by a classical orchestra. So not only would each scene have a unique intention, but the soundtrack would bend and rise at critical moments, creating an immersive atmosphere. Furthering my point on Strange Magic, the film seems to have a very weird animation. Even though 2015 wasn't a particular year for the books on animation, it still takes a giant leap in quality from Epic, especially when you look at Sunny's character played by Elijah Kelly, who is clearly sized down in animation software and made into an elf. Granted, this can be chalked up to the fact that 20th Century and Lucasfilm have different budgets, but we're still comparing 93 million to approximately 100 million, with Lucasfilm in favor. A thing I do want to mention, Epic has one of the most yoked casts I think I've ever seen in a kid's film, like ever, with literal millionaire singers like Pitbull and Beyonce playing fun little side characters to even Josh Hutcherson playing the main love interest. I find it crazy that they managed to even fit this into the budget. I'd also like to go a bit deeper into the actual reason why Strange Magic's story doesn't live up to Epic's hype. Apart from the weak pacing and the lack of character development, there really just isn't a whole lot going on. We start with our MC Marianne, who's getting ready for her wedding and sings this gem. When, oh no, a shittier version of a Prince Charming look-alike contest who was initially her love interest cheats on her. Oh no, he was so, cute. So as you do, she flies off and cries and puts on even more makeup, naturally not believing in love. We're then introduced to the Bog King, who hates love due to a past heartbreak. Do you have nothing better to do? I don't know. Do you maybe want to like destroy a whole fucking forest, like to avenge your son? No? Okay, fine by me. A love potion causes chaos, making Dawn, Marianne's sister, fall in love with the Bog King, and these two unlikely characters are forced to work together. Which, by the way, unlikely is in the most massive quotation marks I can physically muster, because they're practically the same person. Of course they're gonna fucking end up together. They manage to navigate their problems la-di-da, and they basically fall in love with each other. You couldn't stick to your thing for a fucking day? What happened to hating love? What are your motivations? I'm done. I'm sorry. I don't know what came over me. Oh, also, Marianne has a best friend named Sunny that has this like unrequited, undying crush on her, but doesn't actually play any significant role in Marianne's arc. What? Why even bother? I felt like the writers wrote this, then sat patiently waiting for their Oscars. But to summarize, the entire story was just so bullshit it made it aggravating to follow. I didn't even bother including the Sugar Plum Fairy because she had like 3 seconds of screen time, and I thought, what's the point? And just to keep it fair, I'll explain Epic's storyline in a bit more depth. Our MC MK visits her father, who has been estranged from her as her parents divorced years ago due to the father's weird obsession with these leaf men. MK considers him crazy until she stumbles into the woods and ends up shrinking herself down to the size of leaf men, and then she embarks on these crazy adventures, from having to save a pod that contains the life of the forest, to fighting off bogans trying to steal the pod. And the little fillers are actually funny.
We know, you said.
Ugly says what?
What?
Nothing.
Mub always tries to size up Nod, but these scenes actually develop Nod's character and love for MK. All the jokes land, and it doesn't seem like they're just trying to fill the silence. The Bogan leader, or Mandrake, which by the way he's referred to like a grand total of 1, is actually a pretty solid villain. His son gets killed, and this fuels his hatred to the Leafmen even more, granting an even bigger motivator to get the pod spreading decay and death. And to finalize my point, it just seems as though a lot of the time that went into making Strange Magic was not spent worrying about the story, because at 1 hour 39 minutes, the film is able to cover surprisingly little. We learned bare information about a few characters and really struggled to get attached. Plum was resolved pretty briskly, from the Sugar Plum Fairy being freed and Marianne's sister saved to even Marianne finding true love with the Bod King. Epic runs at 1 hour 42 minutes with 3 more minutes to spare and covers way more ground, and I truly doubt that that made the difference. All in all, if I had to suggest which one to watch, I would always say Epic. For me growing up, it was a compelling story with interesting dialogues, fun colors, witty humor, and good morals. But to anyone who enjoys Strange Magic, you're the writer of your own story, and I won't tell you it's wrong, despite my very right and awesome and loud opinions. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed my little rant about Strange Magic and Epic. This is my first time doing anything like this, and it was actually super fun to do. I honestly really had fun editing it, and I would like 100% do something like this again if I ever find something that I'm like as passionate in, which I honestly will. I love hating. But yeah, if you enjoyed, leave a comment, drop a like, whatever you want to do, and you guys can move on to all the awesome bloopers, because I can't talk for the life of me. Bye! As she falls sick and is no longer able... Oh my genuine Jesus Christ, what is the English language? Somebody tell me, where is it? Where can I find it? Where can I download it? I'm having a conniption. William Shakespeare's A Midnight... oh my god. Ooh! That just because they're these characters... What the fuck did I even write here? What?